Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Justin Wells. Coach Dub will be joining us in a couple minutes. But, Justin, it was a big official visit weekend on the 40 acres. The Longhorns hosted, I think, over 15 of their top targets.
16.
And a lot of them are on their way home. But overall, we're not freaking out about Lambos this week. But what were some of the things that we are talking about as we welcome Coach Dub? Good to see you, buddy. Justin, what are we talking about when it comes to the official visits and some of the guys that Texas had on campus this weekend?
First thing, this was a bigger crowd this week. This was a much bigger crowd. And so I think some of the biggest takeaways were, obviously they walked up with all the nice cars. And they weren't just Lambos. I saw a Porsche. I saw a Ferrari. I saw one of those G-Wagons, burnt orange style. Look at Coach. He knows.
Yeah.
And so, listen, Texas is going to do it big. They're going to get in one of those cars and drive you around the city. And that's a cool experience for a lot of those guys. And it's Sark sometimes driving them around, hanging out with them, keeping in touch. This weekend was about star power. They had some gigantic superstars on campus, notably DeCorian Moore, the number 1 receiver in the country, and Riley Pettijohn, the number 3 linebacker in the country. Those two guys, that they were the headliners. And we've had so much good info and intel in the last 48 hours. The vibe is so strong and so positive. We've had so much good feedback. I think we should just jump into it, Joe.
Speaking of that intel, all of that's going to be on InsideTexas.com. Head to Inside Texas, use a promo code IT1. That'll get you 2 months of Inside Texas for just $1. We like talking about offense, but Coach, let's talk a little bit about defense. You had some insight on what's going on with, as Justin mentioned, Riley Pettijohn's recruitment. What are some of the early returns that you're getting about Riley Pettijohn and his trip to Texas?
Yeah, that he loved his visit. I know that they're briefing, still talking about things as a family, but man, like when you can make mom happy, I think you're in a good spot, right? So kind of just talk to them a little bit about what's next for them. Well, they're going to visit A&M, and as of now, it's up in the air. But I do know mom isn't going, so hey, that's always a good thing. But love his visit to Texas, man. The whole I can't wait to talk to them more and kind of just find out a little bit more about his visit and things like that. And I think I don't know. I think they hit a home run, but we'll see.
He's been all over the country, correct? He's been to USC and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
A&M seems like it's the next one up next week. So that's one to watch on defense. Of course, I think you still have a prediction in for Pettijohn. The Longhorns seem to be in a good spot, along with Bo Barnes already being in the class.
Yeah.
Justin, all right, offense. We'll get to you on this one. DeCorian Moore was the highest ranked recruit there, 5-star, number 1 player in the state, number 1 wide receiver in the country. What's the latest on Texas and how they rolled out the burnt orange carpet for DeCorian Moore?
Yeah, DeCorian arrived about noon, a little after noon on Friday, and somebody on Twitter actually made a really good point. By that afternoon and that evening, he was doing video shoots with the Texas uniform and his family and friends. His hair was different in those photo shoots than when he got off the plane. And I'm to understand that's a really good sign, because if you already got a spot in Austin to get your hair done before you take some really important photos and videos, that's a check. That's a check in the right direction. I caught up with a couple people close to DeCorian and his family over the weekend. Texas couldn't have done it any bigger. They couldn't have done it any better. When they made it a family affair, they're inviting folks that you have forgotten were in your family. They went down the list of the family reunion, and it was big. The Moores were running deep in Austin. Chris Jackson, Steve Sarkisian. The biggest takeaway for me was that Colin Simmons was his host, but he really likes Ryan Wingo. And so Ryan Wingo decided to co-host and hang out with him some of the day on Friday, all day Saturday, and a little bit this morning. And so that tells me he's interested to ask this young buck questions. He noticed him in that April 6th scrimmage that he talked to us about. He recognized that if you get here early and you dig your boots in, you can play early. And I think that's important to DeCorian. Look, this kid, I'll maintain this. He wants to play in the SEC. He likes the idea of playing close to home, that proximity, all that lines up, not to mention catching passes from an Arch Manning and a Trey Owens and a potentially a KJ Lacey. All those things line up Texas. He'll go to Oregon. He's going to be at Oregon next weekend, and I think that's going to be his last visit. And then they're going to make a decision. I anticipate that decision coming in July, as soon as early July. I think the mom is ready, almost kind of ready for him to do it. It kind of reminds me of Colin Simmons last year. Colin was going back and forth with Texas and LSU, and his mom was like, I think you kind of know where you want to go, and this thing is dragging out. So why don't you just go ahead and make a call? Colin made the call. It's kind of similar to DeCorian right now. And so for all Texas fans, they could have not have done a better job. DeCorian and his family rolled deep. They treated them like kings, and I still feel as good about my pick to Texas as I did a year and a half ago.
Before we keep on going, got to get a word in for our friend Gabe Winslow. Mortgages by Gabe. Give him a call at 832-557-1095 or head to mortgagesbygabe.com. Gabe Winslow, big Longhorn fan, UT graduate, been a long-time part of the Inside Texas community, and he is the guy to call if you are looking to buy a home. What's it? Over 70 lenders, right, Justin? So
70. When the big companies only give you one, Gabe will hook you up with 70 deep.
Give Gabe a call, 832-557-1095. Got some questions, got some comments, got to get to our friend Brett Nelson, and this is a good way to kind of lead into a discussion about a commit who is on campus. Odds that either Lance Jackson or Petaway become 5 stars. We don't have a say in whether On3 ranks him a 5-star or any of the other services, but just kind of want to, Justin, get some feedback that you received on Lance Jackson, who, if you saw that picture of him and Steve Sarkisian, that's the look of a 5-star at some point.
Yeah, Eric's been, Eric's funny about it. He's always clamoring about, make sure we got the rankings right. And he's been calling him a 5-star since he bumped into him at Under Armour camp in Houston 3 or 4 months ago. Lance Jackson looks like $1 million. 270 has never looked better. Running a 4.6, that's ridiculous. There's a reason that he is so highly coveted, and he's going to be an absolute beast. I get to catch up with him during the visit and after the visit. He hung out with Marco Jones. He hung out with Nick Brooks. He said him and Marco really clicked. These are 2 baseball-loving guys. And so I think it was very strategic by the Texas staff to put those 2 together. And I think Texas is in a really good spot with Marco coming out of this. I think it's going to be Texas or Michigan, with USC kind of hanging around the rim a little bit. But, Lance just is fantastic, man. I mean, you talk about the easiest recruitment in the world. The kid doesn't understand decommitment. He doesn't understand transfer portal. He only understands commitment, 1 official visit, and then go back to work at Pleasant Grove and try to get him another state championship. That's really that's how he rolls. And that's the perfect recruit. You don't have to worry about him. You don't have to beat him down for the latest updates of where he might go or might not go. Lance is so locked in. It's crazy. I think after a strong senior year, Charles Power and those guys at On3 are going to bring him up a little bit more. I think you almost have to. He looks too good. He plays too good. He's too dominant on both sides of the ball. And before he hurt his shoulder, he was throwing 94 on the bump in baseball. If that's not a 5-star, Joe, I don't know what is.
To Charles Power and Cody Belair's credit, On3 ranks him the highest. Number 37 overall, number 4 edge, number 10 player in Texas.
On3's big on him. And like I tell them, like you just said, we have nothing to do with the rankings. What I tell the kids when they ask me about the rankings, if they go up, it's because I had something to do with it. But if they drop, I had nothing to do with it. It's a really easy system I have, and it works like a charm.
Charlie, going through some of the guys that you've caught up with or know a little bit about, Lamont Rogers was on campus for his official visit. This is kind of a recruitment that Texas has run cold more than it's run hot, but the Longhorns got their chance to talk to Rogers. What's kind of some of your takeaways, knowing that we're going to have a lot more of this info over on Inside Texas, but what were some big takeaways you got from the Rogers camp?
Yeah, just getting them on campus is a great thing, right? You always want a chance. You want to have, one of the final say-sos that show a kid exactly what you have to offer him, right? Like I said, everybody knows Mom wasn't able to make it, but Lamont was there. And I know the last time he was on campus, he really loved his visit. He loved being in Austin, loved seeing the scenes, the facilities, and he's really, really close with Coach Gilbert there. So just another chance for him to, build that relationship with Texas and see where he fits in the class. If he's, somebody want to bring in or, he's a guy on the board that they're still evaluating. Who knows? But getting him on campus was huge. And I don't think you invite a kid to an official visit just to have him there for no reason, right? So I think it's a guy that Texas, still holds in high regards. And I think that Lamont wanted to go and see exactly what Texas had to offer. And I think, like you said, we'll find out more on Inside Texas. You'll be able to read, all of his thoughts.
You had kind of mentioned that Chris Gilbert is the one who leads a lot of that recruitment. Kyle Flood's starting to get more and more involved in that one, correct?
Yeah, he is. And I think, Gilbert having a relationship, everybody has their strengths and their, I guess you want to say weaknesses on staff. And if you have a relationship with somebody, you use that. And since Coach Gilbert has a strong relationship with those coaches and Lamont and the family, you tend to lean on that as a staff and use this guy who has the biggest connection. So, but Coach Flood is there. He's the offensive line coach, of course. So, he has to say so, and he's going to talk to Lamont just as much as Coach Gilbert. But Coach Gilbert just has the lead for now. And he has the lead on a lot of guys. He's doing a lot of heavy lifting, but that's what you brought him in for.
Any other guys that you caught up with or recruits you want to touch on? I know you had some info on Kelshawn Johnson. You've been in touch over you've seen North Crowley probably more than anybody as far as Jonathan Cunningham goes. Any more insight from those guys?
Just talking to Jonathan just a little bit. And he's waiting to get back with me. He's on his way home now, but just excited. He was like, I did not know Texas was like this. Just having a one-on-one time with Coach Nansen and seeing everything that Texas had to offer. He just said, I'm excited. He was grinning ear to ear, which, hey, who wouldn't be, right? A little bit fun about Kelshawn, he may be a guy that maybe he jumps in and takes a spot. Who knows, So I know he's excited, talked about, how Texas could use him in the slot, how they can use kind of like Jordan Whittington when he was here. But Kelshawn is so fast and athletic. Like, I can see him getting the ball from the slot a ton more, than the guys in the past. And so I think he sees himself fitting in, especially in Sark's offense. He's safe at the quarterbacks Texas has on campus and who may be on campus soon. So, and playing with, look at that receiver room. Like, if you come in with Corey Moore or whoever else comes in with him, like, you're never going to see a double team in your life. I'm going one-on-one the entire time I'm in Texas. So who wouldn't be excited about that?
Justin, that with Kelshawn, we posted a lot about how their A&M is still very much involved, and that's kind of Texas competition. And, of course, all these spots are kind of precious when it comes to wide receiver recruiting.
It is, and it's going to be fascinating. We know the top three targets: DeCorian Moore, Kalik Lockett, and Jamie French, and then the rest. If they take four, it's going to be one of those four, from Kelshawn, Andrew Marsh, Dalen McCutcheon. I caught up with Kelshawn. He had a great time. I even mentioned it at Inside Texas. I think A&M still kind of has a little bit of a lead there just because there's a quicker path to the field. I think he feels like in College Station, but it remains to be seen. Coach is right. He could decide that he wants to grab one of those spots. Andrew Marsh, caught up with him. He had a lot of fun too. He's a guy that's going to wait. He wants to take more visits in the fall. He is in no hurry to make this decision, especially since Michigan jumped in. I think Michigan's become a real player in that recruitment. But if Andrew Marsh is your third or fourth receiver in a class, that's outstanding. Like, that's a great floor. That's like a wood floor. Forget the laminate. Let's just go wood. Let's go pine or something. Oak. But yeah, Marsh, those guys, it's going to be interesting to see how they play out. McCutcheon's the same way. McCutcheon loved his trip. And you've also got to watch Florida State, Ohio State, and a handful of other schools for him as well. And so the wide receiver room is going to be fun and fascinating to see how it plays out in the next few weeks. John Mills, we haven't caught up with him yet, but just talking to a couple people within the program today, they love where Texas stands for John Mills. It's going to be East Coast, West Coast, or Central Time Zone. It's going to be one of the three: Washington, Florida, or Texas. I like Texas right now. I liked Texas last week. I liked them 3 weeks ago, but I damn sure like them a lot more now. I think John Mills in Texas makes a lot of sense. Nick Brooks is going to be a guy that's the largest of the large humans that showed up, 6'7", 360. Ain't no way that kid is 360. That scale just lied. That's a kid that I think that's going to come down to an NIL recruitment. Just talking to a source within the program this morning, I think that's going to come down to NIL. Georgia has a really strong sale there. He had a lot of fun. He hung out with a handful of recruits as well as players. I think he enjoyed Austin. I think it was probably better than he expected. But again, That one's going to come down to NIL, in my opinion. That's the key there. And so, up top to bottom, I think Texas just did a great job. They have one more big OV weekend, and that's next weekend when they're going to have as many as 20 kids on campus, and you're going to have the rest of the 4- and 5-star targets that are priorities. Jamie French, Michael Fasusi, you just go KJ Lacey, just go down the list. They're going to be on campus. But for this was the middle official visit one. They couldn't have done any better, guys. They really hit home with everybody they wanted to. And I'm going to say this again. I think they moved the needle with Marco Jones. Eric has been trending towards this for, I want to say, a good month. He has been all over this recruitment. Chad Simmons has helped us out. EJ Hollins helped us out. Talked to somebody that was hosting him this week, or talked to somebody that was close to him. They said it's Texas or Michigan. So I think that's a huge thing right there with Marco Jones. Smith Arogbo comes out of the visit, ready to make an announcement on July 1st. Not sure that's in Texas' direction right now. If the Horns have the number as a 2 and a 3 at the edge spot, you've already got Lance Jackson. If you add a Marco Jones, I would not be surprised if they just shut it down and shifted to 2026, to be honest, because they stacked so much of that position in the last class and in the last portal in the wintertime. And so we need to get a little bit more clarity from Smith. I talked to him first time he had ever been around the city during a visit. First time he'd actually ever been around the campus. He loved it. I think if Texas pushes, they could get him. I'm just kind of thinking of guys off the top of my head to make sure we've got everyone covered. But I think that's most of them. The USC cornerback, that one's going to be a wait and see. That's going to be a wait and see, Brett. Like, I mean, that's one of those things where Sark has made California his personal playground. And when they ramp up efforts out there, they usually get him on campus and they usually make an impression. And we're going to have to catch up with him soon to kind of see where Texas is at. But right now, I think that one's going to be uphill. But from top to bottom, I think we've covered almost all of them. Ricky Stewart, one more. Commit Ricky Stewart actually hung out with DeCorian, with Ryan Wingo, with Colin Simmons. Why? Because he doesn't say anything. He just hangs out. He's just there for the ride. You have to love Ricky Stewart. The kid said 5 words the entire weekend. I just want the ball. He just wants the ball. I love Ricky Stewart for that.
I'm a big fan of his as well. As Justin mentioned, head to Inside Texas, use the promo code IT1. I'll get you 2 months of access for just $1, and that'll get you all the information from this official visit weekend. Justin, I got to put you on the spot one more time. I think it's a good one to end on. Did you get in touch with Brandon Brown? What's the latest with the Texas commit there?
I had talked to his mom earlier. I haven't got him after they left. They're on a flight now, so I'll probably catch them when they get back into Florida. But Texas, this is the guy we kept expecting the Horns to lose. This is a kid we thought's going to flip to LSU. We thought he could flip to Tennessee. Miami's been in the mix. Now he's going to go see Oklahoma next weekend. And, that's certainly a different spur in the saddle. But you know what, with Brandon, he sees himself playing at Texas. And I think that's the biggest thing. Holding on to him, he may not make a decision. He mentions that he could be making another decision, which kind of takes away from him being a commitment, so to speak. But overall, Brandon's enjoying the process after his pledge. And a lot of kids do that. Just let him go through it. Let him have fun with it. I still think the biggest schools to watch are in-state and Florida. I still think Miami and Florida are the 2 schools that you really have to watch, especially if Florida gets rid of their coach, if Napier's fired sometime this season and who they bring in. Brandon Brown's close to a lot of those guys. And so right now, he's still a Horn. 6 months from now, that might be a different question. But today, Brandon Brown, they loved it. Naisha was thrilled. They brought the family. We'll get a little bit more clarity at InsideTexas.com here in the next day or two.
Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel. Again, that helps us. Help us get to 8,000 as we're trying to make our way to the regular season. Promo code IT1, 2 months for just $1. Thank you to Gabe Winslow. Coach, Justin, thank you so much. We'll see everybody next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.